The Liberal government in Canada is on the precipice of enacting some of the most dangerous and draconian legislation when it comes to freedom of expression, net neutrality in the entire Western world. I don't care if you're on the left or the right. The actions of Mark Carney, Stephen Guilbeault, Melanie Joly, and Sean Fraser should absolutely shake you to your core if you have any semblance of what it means to live in a free society. And if by the end of this video you're not as concerned as I am, I don't know what else to tell you. Welcome back to the show, everybody. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, and leave a comment down below because I want to know what everybody thinks about this absolutely crazy week that we've been having for freedom of speech, not just in Canada, but around the world. Because the United Kingdom has just announced that they will be implementing a digital ID. That's right, guys. Something that was supposed to be a conspiracy theory just a few years ago is now coming true. And the really ridiculous part is they are actually selling this as some sort of solution to the crisis that they created with regards to mass immigration. But more on that later, because I want to get into the very draconian Bill C-8 here in Canada. And Matt Strauss is one of the only Conservative MPs that are loudly calling this out. Where are you, Pierre Poilievre? But regardless, Matt Strauss says this on Twitter: "You need to be very concerned about Bill C-8. It allows Melanie Joly to kick anyone off the internet with no trial, no warrant. Worse, you won't be allowed to say you've been kicked off. This is the Emergency Measures Act on steroids, only permanent and secret." So I want to jump right into the most concerning aspects of this bill. Security of the Canadian Telecommunications System Minister's Order. 1. If there are reasonable grounds to believe that it is necessary to do so to secure the Canadian telecommunications system against any threat, including that of interference, manipulation, disruption, or degradation, the minister may A. prohibit a telecommunications service provider from providing any service to any specified person, including a telecommunications service provider, and B. direct a telecommunications service provider to suspend providing for a specific period of time any service to any specified person, including a telecom service provider. And it gets even more troubling. Non-disclosure. The order may also include a provision prohibiting the disclosure of its existence or some or all of its contents by any person. So not only can they kick you off the internet for any reason they deem necessary, it also goes on to say, provision of information. The minister may require any person to provide to the minister or any person designated by the minister within any time and subject to any conditions that the minister may specify, any information that the minister believes on reasonable grounds, wonder what those could be, is relevant for the purpose of making, amending, or revoking an order or verifying compliance or preventing non-compliance with such an order or regulation. So Matt Strauss rightly points out that this is the Emergency Act on steroids, only permanent and secret. And this is exactly why I'm saying that it doesn't matter if you're on the left or the right. This should absolutely concern you. I mean, if you're a hardcore liberal and you believe that the Freedom Convoy is the worst thing to happen to Canada and it was an insurrection that needed to be crushed with an iron fist, you're free to have that ridiculous opinion, and that's fine. But could you imagine how people on the left would feel if Pierre Poilievre were Prime Minister right now and he were enacting this kind of legislation? You would be rightly outraged. Your ability to speak freely, criticize your elected officials, or organize a protest would be severely threatened under penalty of literally losing your ability to speak on the internet. Bill C-8 is concerning enough on its own. But when you factor in that governments around the world are now having serious conversations about enacting a mandatory digital ID, you can start to see the pieces for a total totalitarian control grid start to fall into place.
And that is why today I am announcing this government will make a new free-of-charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work.
Don't you just love this whole carrot and stick thing? Oh, the digital ID is free of charge. The government is so nice. They're giving this to you for free. And at the same time, he's saying mandatory for the right to work. Let me know down in the comments. Have you guys seen this before in recent years?
By the end of this Parliament. Let me spell that out. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID. It's as simple as that. Because decent, pragmatic, fair-minded people, they want us to tackle the issues that they see around them.
Yeah, the issues that you people have created.
And of course, the truth is, we won't solve our problems.
Of course it's not going to solve their problems, because that's not what this is really all about. The United Kingdom has a system very similar to Canada in which people have to have documentation in order to work. The infrastructure to make sure that there is no illegal immigrants working under the table is already in place. And this interview is fantastic because Keir Starmer is called out on this to his face.
One of our viewers got in touch and wanted us to ask this question. Russ Brown wanted us to ask you if you really believe that those profiting from human trafficking will think, oh dear, I have to check your digital ID now. I can't carry on paying you £1.50 an hour to work in my sweatshop.
I am absolutely convinced that amongst the reasons that people travel through France, which is a safe country, to come to the United Kingdom, amongst the reasons is because it's easier to work in our illegal economy than it is in other countries. And we have to deal with that.
Bosses who are prepared to hire people illegally.
I just want to point out that, again, it is easier for these people to work in your economy because of the open borders that these governments, including Canada, have created and fostered over the years. They have created the problem to offer you the solution.
Are not asking them for their national insurance card. So what's the evidence? What makes you think they're suddenly going to ask them for a digital ID?
We need to be really clear. You must have ID, mandatory digital ID, in order to work, because we have to stop illegal working. If you look at any of the raids, we've massively increased the number of raids on working premises. It is absolutely clear that people are working illegally in numbers.
But why
that
do you think that them
acceptable.
having a digital ID, having to have a digital ID, would stop that problem when right now people are meant to have a national insurance number and card, and if they're not asked for that, a boss is willing already to break the rules? What's the difference going to be? Well,
the difference is this is on point of starting, not a retrospective exercise as it now is. It is an automatic collection of the information by the government, so we know exactly who is working in our economy, and it will help us enforce the rules that are there. But there's no point people saying to me, why do we need it, when we all acknowledge there is a problem. People are working illegally in our economy. It is amongst the reasons that people want to come to the United Kingdom. We have to deal with that. I made a pledge that we would do whatever was necessary, use whatever tools were available to deal with illegal migration. I intend to do so.
So you can see right there that there is not a lot of logic here, and Keir Starmer is having a very difficult time defending this position when asked some very basic, valid questions about why they are doing this. And the fact that this is going on while Britain is in the midst of a total free speech clampdown is very concerning. And I don't really want to see the same thing happen in Canada. So Defiant L's put this one out here. British couple, quote, detained for having a Britain First sticker on their car. Someone please tell me this is staged, because it's absolutely insane.
You're just holding us up for no reason.
Okay.
Well, have we committed a crime?
We're just trying to have a discussion at the minute.
No, I'm asking you a question. Have we committed a crime?
So at the minute, you've got the word wankers displayed on the side. So someone might take offence to that. I know, obviously, you might see it as a different way, but technically, it's a public order offence.
The only person who would take offence to that is Keir Starmer. Everyone else agrees with it.
Everyone else agrees with it. Exactly. Thank you. And this is why the Liberals are trying to do this in Canada. Make no mistake about it, guys. Melanie Joly will have the power to kick anybody off the internet who dares criticize the government. So you could just imagine how, if this were how things are in Canada, just a few years ago when the F Trudeau bumper stickers were very popular, they want to make sure that that can never happen again. And with a digital ID, imagine how easy it would be for the police officer to just take out their phone, scan the documents that you're required to have on you, and all of a sudden, you don't have the internet anymore. It's absolutely draconian, and you can really see the pieces fall into place here. I don't even think I'm being paranoid. This is what they're planning on doing.
I'm not saying anything in terms of that. I've got to remain biased, but that's obviously why I've come down to...
But if we've not committed a criminal offence, then can we go?
Well, just for the time being,
it's in terms of you've got Britain First written on the side of your van.
So
what's wrong with that? It's a prescribed organisation.
No, it's not. It's a registered political party.
Britain First. Like, there are mainstream Conservative Party of Canada signs with that exact same messaging. This is something right out of a sci-fi dystopian novel. I don't even think George Orwell would have been able to predict what is going on today, and he would be rolling in his grave if he could just see it. So what exactly does this mean for Canada? While it's true that Mark Carney has not come out and embraced the digital ID yet, he was asked about this, and his answer is not exactly reassuring. He's got the very same body language and ums and ahs that we've seen in the past when he has lied to us. Think elbows up, everybody.
Keir Starmer's introduced a digital ID card. Wants to make it mandatory as a way of controlling immigration. Is that something Canada might consider?
Well, Paul, one thing I would put in terms of context is the UK is relatively unique in not having other forms of identification. So there's been a long history here.
Such bullshit. Such absolute bullshit. The United Kingdom doesn't have driver's licenses to work. They don't have immigration documents. They don't have the equivalent of a social insurance number. Absolute nonsense. Nobody's buying this, Mark Carney.
Not to have ID. Canadians, we have various forms of ID. We have driver's license. You have social insurance license. You have forms of identification. In terms of so now, are there merits to having common digital identification for government services, for you say immigration, also for financial services, portability, other aspects? There may be. We don't have current plans for that.
So there you have it. Mark Carney claims that Canada has no current plans to enact a digital ID. Sounds reassuring, right? Well, it's not. Because if you guys remember the vaccine passport system that Justin Trudeau implemented, he was claiming for the months leading up to that Canada wasn't going to do it. He was saying things like, it's too divisive, it would disproportionately affect minorities. All that stuff was absolutely true. But quietly, in the background, he was giving the provinces the money to enact this terrible policy. And you can see the exact same thing going on right now. And oddly enough, Danielle Smith, of all people, is one of the first premiers that are going to be taking the fall for this.
Today, we're taking another step to fulfill that promise. Starting in late 2026, Alberta will be the first province to implement the addition of Canadian citizenship markers to our driver's licenses and identification cards. This simple addition will have a profound impact on how Albertans interact with their government and their communities. Why are we doing this? Because we believe in making things better, faster, and more convenient for everyone.
There it is again, the convenience. They will always try to sell this to you as a convenience.
By including citizenship information on these cards, we're streamlining access to vital services, whether it's applying for student aid, accessing health benefits, or supporting those with disabilities. No longer will Albertans need to carry multiple documents or face unnecessary hurdles. This change means that when Albertans need to prove both their identity and their citizenship, they'll be able to do so with a single document.
So you can see the exact same thing they're doing in the United Kingdom. They're using the same narrative here. They're taking people's understandable concerns about mass immigration and they're weaponizing it against us with a digital ID.
It's about reducing red tape, cutting down on paperwork, and making sure that government works for you, not the other way around. Programs like Assured Income for the Severely Handicapped, Alberta Student Aid, and the Persons with Developmental Disabilities program all require proof of citizenship. With this new marker, accessing these supports will be simpler and more secure. Adding a Canadian citizenship marker is also about protecting our democracy. Election security is a vital concern in Canada. By adding citizenship information to Alberta's driver's licenses and ID cards, we're taking a proactive step toward ensuring that only eligible citizens cast ballots in our...
Now you can see what she's doing here. That's another issue that fans of Danielle Smith are concerned about, election security. So I've actually seen people that support Danielle Smith try to justify their support for this digital ID, saying it's more convenient. And I get it. It's a pain in the ass to carry 3 different cards with you sometimes. Like, you need your driver's license if you get pulled over. You also need your health card if you're going to the doctor's office. But is it really that hard to carry 3 cards with you? Honestly, I, for one, am not comfortable sacrificing certain liberties for convenience. And finally, I would like to know exactly where Pierre Poilievre stands currently on the digital ID and when exactly he thinks it's a safe time to address it. Maybe his advisors haven't given him the green light yet. I don't know, because ever since Keir Starmer made this announcement, it's been radio silence from Pierre Poilievre, not just on digital ID, but Bill C-8. Which I find very concerning and interesting, considering he made issues like this a cornerstone of his election campaign and all of his rallies across the country.
There will be no mandatory digital ID in this country, and I will ban all of my ministers and top government officials from any involvement in the World Economic Forum.
Now, all of that sounded great, and I agree with it 100%. But seriously, where is Pierre Poilievre on the issue now that it actually matters? And if there's any leftists that are actually listening to this, I'd like to remind you that you might have a knee-jerk reaction to support the digital ID and Bill C-8, but I'd like to remind you that eventually the pendulum is going to swing back around, and we will inevitably have a conservative government that you don't like. And you might want the opportunity to criticize members of that government, organize a protest for whatever cause du jour you have going on at the moment. And your ability to do so will be severely limited if this ever comes to pass. So I don't care if you're on the left, you're on the right, liberal, conservative, far left, far right, libertarian, green, whatever. We all need to come together against this now, before it's too late. But that's going to be my show for today, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments. And as always, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and if this legislation doesn't come to pass and we can all speak freely on the internet, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Johnny from Nova Scotia says thank you. Hey, Johnny from Nouvelle-Écosse, il dit merci, thank you.
Thanks to you.
Thank you so much. Perfect. Yeah, Quebec.